Good evening again. Good night. So yesterday the agenda video was cut. I mean, almost at the end, just a lack of space or something in the device. So regarding the issue of symbolizing the energizing the symbols, this was discussed at length in the past. I don't know, and I don't have like new kind of information because I didn't conduct any kind of like, experiment. But it should be said that the problem is what you do with the energy, because when you enter the symbols, you put some energy. Like what do you mean to energize? Because by definition, the amount of energy does not change, like in a closed system. So what do we say when we mean to energize? We mean that the symbol should create by their essence some kind of transformation of energy. Okay? Like for example, the moon is energized by the sun. How does it happen? So light, arrives from the sun, let's say photons, for example, according to common conceptualizations, and they transform to heat. So the moon is getting warmer. So this transformation is done by the symbol and and of course with another kind of source of energy. Now, the problem with energy transformation is that it's commonly, like in that example, but in many other examples, it's very common that the transformation is done to heat. From something to heat, from electricity to heat, from a chemical energy to heat, okay? Or mechanical energy to heat. But you don't always want that heat because of all sorts of non-convenience issues. So I would say, and this is also true when you use electricity, as I said. Maybe we'll try that today, like to use the hookah, the electric stove. But you could do, in order to create the special, the specialty of the caviar, like the ikra, like the train ikra, which is like an amazing way to prepare trains. I have a little bit of oil that I bought yesterday, and also just a tiny bit of beeswax, but it's enough to create amazing trains that you could see by the naked eye. Maybe we'll do it today, and of course we'll do it as part of the Zelda game, so it will also feel it so my audience will also feel it like in their bodies, which can be very interesting. Like this kind of trains, it's amazing, and this thing is like microscopic in essence. It's amazing. So maybe we'll do it today. It will be very nice. But even that, you can only use it for a short time because this kind of machine, the charcoal heater, hookah charcoal heater, is not used. It's not meant for very very long. Operation because the problem of heat. Again, it converts electrical energy to heat. Why not just use an oven? My oven, I received it from the storage. It was new when I put it in storage, like before I got out of Shom, but now it doesn't work. It doesn't work, which is a bummer. So yeah, I was starting to discuss magnetrons. There are also ways to transform energy from, say, electrical, circuit. From the grid, basically using, the socket, the wall socket with or without transformer. Usually, I do use transformers to DC, but let's not get into it. So there are lots of ways to actually, relying, on the connection, electricity and magnetism. Basically, the Lorentz law. So the other way to convert it to mechanical energy. But again, this should be done in a way that it can be done perpetually. Like we want a kind of a perpetual motion machine. Probably because of friction, it will also, in some point transform to heat, but maybe in a way that is not, is not dangerous. Like for example, like a fan, just I mean, a room fan. I mean, you. But I mean, physics dictate that it will warm the room, which is true. By the way, it's true to refrigerator as well, like to fridge. It warms the room. But I mean, but it's not in a way that I mean it's dangerous. To the contrary, I mean, the effect on humans is that I mean, no, the human that stand beyond, in front of the fan is like, it feels colder. This is advanced, relatively advanced, but I mean, it's just, I mean, things that are on my mind, and it's like an explanation of what, what we'll show you today, probably with regard to electricity. Again, the same objective still stands, which is, the trains, like, creating the trains in the body of my subscribers. I should point out that, I mean, in general, I mean, the ZRM can be, can be used for, presumably for so many, in so many ways, but what actually people do, I mean, it's just one thing, and this is common to the neo technology. I mean, you can tell from planets with this thing, but usually people just, I mean, use it to cut dicks of other people. Very specific, use case. So what they do is that they transform the T, to themselves from the other, and they transform train from themselves to the other. What they call to use purify you, which means that you put, all the trains in by the body of Jesus, and then you take all the T from Jesus. But you cannot do both together. Like it's like, because again, as I said, I mean, the neos, I mean, they can use both ways, but not at the same time. Like, I mean, you cannot. I mean, at any given point, I mean, it's either like, like one way or the other. That's why, I mean, that's one of the reasons why, I mean, I use DC. Like, I mean, for almost everything that I've done with the Neos, I've used DC, not AC. It was like it since a long time ago, like, and it still is. And even the conceptualizations are all, in the realm of DC, not AC. I like information on the matter, but the problem is that there are many problems with AC. Like, there was also the issue of like finding the shortest path over the void, which is like, I discussed it at some, shortly, like, maybe a month or 2 months ago. But it's not that, I mean, I don't think that AC can be, AC secret can be created over the void, even though it was not yet proven. And I actually, it's an interesting thing to actually prove that you can also do that as well. My estimation is that you can do that, but it's going to be much less efficient and create all sorts of problems. And maybe to a point that I cannot even, prove it. I didn't even try. It's actually interesting to try to prove it, like to do it. Electrolysis is done using DC, which solve that problem of like, of alternating directions and also finding shorter paths, like when the path changes, like, 50 times a second or 60 times a second. Because again, the shorter path is not symmetrical. Like, it's not symmetrical. Over the void, it's not symmetrical. I mean, the shorter path in a graph, in a weighted graph, okay, between like a source and destination, is not the same if you just, I mean, reversed, from the destination to source. Why is that? Because it's a weighted graph. So you can say, yes, but I mean, it makes sense that, I mean, that the edges will be symmetrical, which means that, I mean, if there is like, from node A to node B, there is kind of like, an edge with like weight 10, so from B to A, it will be like, minus 10. But it's not the case. It's not the case. And this actually affects faster than light travel. I mentioned it in the past. Like the way from here, like, to, I mean, the time it takes, like, for a given, FTL equipped Starship to go from here to Alpha Centauri is probably not the same as, I mean, as as for the same ship to go from Alpha Centauri to here. Maybe yes, because Alpha Centauri is very close, so maybe it's not a good example. Like Aldebaran, I don't know. Let's think about something like far away. Okay, maybe Alpha Centauri is so close that we wouldn't notice. But think about something far away, like 100 light years, or 1,000 light years, or 1,000,000 light years away. So it's not the same time that for me to be there from this way, because the void, because there's like waves in the void. It's like an ocean. It's not the same it's to fly or to take a boat from here to Cyprus than the other way around. It's true both to airplanes and to ships, because of the waves and because of airflow. So there is something like that in the void. As I said, the void is not, it's not really a void. It's just, it's not really a void. Like it's just, I don't like the term hyperspace, because it's kind of like suggests that like it's something that is out of this universe, or out of this kind of realm of existence, and it's not true. It's just that it's just another kind of property of the universe that people are not aware of anymore and cannot quantify and sense. Until now you can with the neurons. It kind of like it gives you some kind of clues to it, but this is new, and it's just my study to the best of my knowledge. So humans don't know about it, but it's like it belongs to the fabric of this universe, which means that it's not like another universe or another realm. It's just it's something in this universe that's like a property that is not yet accessible to humans. And this thing is not, as I said, there is like resistance in the void, like electrical resistance in the void. And there's like consideration that limit how fast you can go in the void, which is much faster than light, but not indefinite speed. Like this, there are limitations even to flying in the void. The limitations are incredible. But even light speed. The speed of a horse or a buggy, or people, if you're used to that, and so the first locomotion might be like very quick to you, but it is all relative. Anyway, it's not indefinite speed. Anyway, this also implies that the shortest path, from why do we mention the shortest path? Because of the issue of presumably the circuit is created by the path of least resistance. Like a DC circuit. Let's say, so the question how the electrons know where to go. Who do they have I don't know, do they constantly perform the Dijkstra algorithm for the shortest path or something in their mind? Every electron is kind of equipped with all the information, and with a little computer with the Dijkstra algorithm. And this is, but that question does not belong necessarily to the realm of the alien science, like the T science. It's a question anyway. Because it's like I don't know. I actually know what's the answer. If you have the answer for that, I will gladly read it or listen to it. But it's a question with regard to earth science as well. First there is the lightning rods that you put it in like a rod, like Benjamin Franklin did or something like that. Just some klibarak. You put an iron or metal on top of your farm or something, like a house, and then the lightning strike this specific metal, which is kind of good because otherwise it would have hit wherever, and then it's like a way to control the lightning. Some said Benjamin Franklin did it. I don't know. Some kind of American founding father did it. So why does it happen? Because lightning is I would say precast. Discharge of electrical energy from above the ground to the ground, and this discharge is usually takes the shortest space, not in in Euclidean way. That's why it's not like a line, that's why it's kind of it looks like lightning, because it's not in Euclidean shortest path, but it's and a shortest path with regards to resistance, which is somewhat, equivalent to finding the shortest path in a graph, in a computer science, like in a wet graph, like in a computer science way. But the question is, but how does do you have any explanation, like how does the lightning know how to do it? Because presumably it requires a lot of computational power. How does the lightning know, that the shortest path is through, the metal road on the top of the farm of Benjamin Franklin? It requires a lot of knowledge from the lightning, to know exactly where to go. But again, we see it with our own eyes that it's actually happening. So, who's doing the computation here? It's a question. It's not easy. I don't know the answer to that. Really, it's a question. Anyway, DC makes it a little bit easier. Normally, it's not a problem, this issue is normally not a problem, for humans, because you are used to circles that are not over the void. So the shortest path is is the same from A to B to B to A. It's the same path, but it's not over the void. Although it's much more complicated over the void, because there can be billion neros, from A to B. So the computation can be much more complex. From A to B, there could be usually in Earth, when in regular circuits, just there is a wire between A to B. If there is no wire, there is no circuit. Or maybe if it's a complicated circuit, with parallel lines, so it can be, 5 parallel circuits, and then you need to kind of, to calculate, resistance and currents, whatever. But you don't have that many options. But with the neros, between A and B, there can be billion nodes or trillion nodes, in a graph, and so there is infinite amount of of passes, and add to that it's not symmetrical. So AC is you change the way every 60 times or 50 times a second. It makes it all much more complicated. Another reason to use DC, and that's mostly what I do in this channel, almost always. Okay, so we'll do some experimentation later today, maybe with microscope, to give you some kind of new result. We haven't done microscopic examination in a while. Now with regard to the colors that I spoke about it yesterday. People saw me now switch to gray, so immediately there was much rejoicing, over tremendous amount of my subscribers, because the idea is that I'm now that I'm full of the train, and that I'm decapitated, incapacitated. There's a question why are they so gleefully happy about me being destroyed? I'm their only hope to survive. So why are they so happy when they think that I'm crushed to the ground? But that question, could be asked even 40 years ago when I was born. It was always like that. I was always, the savior, and I was always the only hope to survive, and they always hated me more and more, and always, seemed to be exalted with, so much, happiness. When they think, they imagine there's a clue to my demise. But it's also opening right now. Yay! So yes, so what's the idea? The idea is that I change to gray, because I'm consumed by the train bacteria. Because they know that it's not a matter of the tea that they're taking too much from me, because I have tremendous amount. They cannot deplete me from tea, even though they can try, and they do it, and they hurt me a lot. But the idea is that I change to gray not because of lack of tea, but because of too much train bacteria in the body. And you can feel it, and you can, and then you switch to gray. But the question that should ask here is, so why should he always dress in gray? presumably. Like, if that's the, the cure to the term bacteria, why not always dress in gray? So the idea is that when you are in gray, you cannot be controlled by somebody, and presumably I have to be controlled. I don't know why. I mean, it's bullshit. It's difficult for me to reverse engineer what's going on in the mind of Paleolithic apes with kind of like notion about reality that is barely scientific, but mostly mythological and religious. I mean, like I try to create תמונת תודעת אויב, מה שנקרא, like, the mindset of the enemy, but many times it's difficult because the enemy is a Paleolithic ape. So it's difficult to rationalize their thoughts. But you try to do it anyway in order to make sense of life. But life doesn't always make sense. That's the problem. They don't make sense, these life forms. So the idea is that I require control, and with being gray, I cannot be controlled, and then something bad will happen to me, so I don't want it to happen. I admit it's difficult to rationalize that, but maybe it's impossible because they are Paleolithic apes. That's what they are. Anyway, all of that, led me to think that maybe, now, why actually I do not always dress in gray? What's the real reason for that? First of all, when I'm outside, I'm in the last year and a half, I'm almost always in gray when I'm outside. Almost always, in 18 months, since 18 months ago, or even 20 months ago. With the exception of a multi-day hike, that I don't have enough gray. I don't have nothing, I don't have money. I dress in kind of rags, so in multi-day hike, I don't have enough clothes to dress, I don't have enough gray shirts. So in multi-day hikes, it's not like that. But in regularly, when I just go outside, you rarely find me without not wearing gray. But what about inside the apartment? So the problem of being always dressed in gray. First of all, again, I don't have. I need to buy gray shirts, and I don't have money. But maybe I'll do it actually. But another problem is that sometimes I want to partake, in this game because of several reasons. First reason is so people will be able to listen to me. And I'm not sure it can be done when you dress gray. Now I upload it to YouTube, so maybe, hopefully people, my hope is that people will actually discover the internet, start by discovering, cameras and, audio records, and then maybe, electricity in general, and maybe even the internet, computers and the internet, and because it seems to me that until now, everybody that watches me is doing it solely, with the technology of T, which is a shame. But I always hope that at some point, the vast intelligence services of the world would actually, discover, electricity and, cameras, and then maybe the internet, and this will, of course, make my life much easier. Because then, they can just, listen to whatever I like to say in YouTube, and we don't need all these color things, and other voodoo stuff. But we do need it because, because they don't. They all just use the T, which is ridiculous, but what can I do? So, in order I think, I'm not sure that if you dress in gray, the voice, can be conveyed, over, using the bicycle mechanism. Maybe it can. Tell me what you think. I'm not sure it's actually, it's like a valid way, but maybe it is. And also another thing is that sometimes I want to do things to affect, other people. For example, the hookah, of course, amplified. I smoke the hookah, like a train, like a maniac, like a locomotion, like a locomotive breath dragon. But the idea is that to amplify it, with burning the needle, so my subscribers will feel the same, but maybe 5 times, stronger. Because basically all of them like to smoke. I don't know why, but it's super common among my subscribers. I do know why, because it's related to the tea stealing mechanism. So I say, if you like to smoke, let's let's do some serious smoking. Like, I mean, not just, like little children, So, and that is why I'm sure it's actually, it works, when you dress in gray. But what I try to do today is actually, I thought, but maybe, keep in gray for a while. And when I smoke the hookah, like maybe put on gloves, like, because if you wear black gloves and the rest is gray, you're still considered like black. The problem is that I don't have black gloves, so I need to search for something. I only have white gloves. And it's not necessarily like what I want, because it will create like, a negative effect. I want a positive effect. And so I'll think about it, but maybe we'll go this, along this, route for the next, I don't know, 12 hours or so. So that's it for now, and please leave your comments, and of course you can ask to replay any video. I mean, if you don't get access, if you didn't get, like, the Disney Plus, premium account, I mean, and you want to watch specific videos that exist from the past, please leave a comment, and thank you very much.